From the On Target Digital Marketing Podcasting Studios in sunny Orlando, Florida, it's the T-Squared Tech Talk Podcast with Tom Jellick and Tom Craig. It's a frickin' Friday afternoon, Tom, and you know what that means.
That means it's time for the hype.
You've really got your radio voice on lately. I like it.
You know, I'm trying to step up the game, Tom. You know, this is our 41st podcast.
I know.
And yet we need to push our listeners. We need to gain more attention. So how are we going to do that? We come up with radio voice and say, oh, "That's right."
That's right.
Yep. So, but no, you know, it's a day filled with hype.
It is.
Hype that I don't understand, Tom.
It's all about the hype, Tom.
It's all about the Endgame.
Yep. I see what you did there.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you Mason here is not going to have this podcast cut and live by the end of the day today.
No?
So, but the timeliness will still be important by the time we do post this next week.
Yes. Well, I just don't get it. There's all this hype out over the new Avengers movie, Avengers Endgame.
Are you going to go?
I am not going to go. Made it halfway through the last one, Avengers Too Many People, I think it was called. I've come to realize that the only way they could up the cast and up the ante on getting more people would be to have like Space Ghost.
Sure.
Possibly Howard Stern's Fart Man from the 90s.
That would be great.
You know, that's about the only superheroes left that aren't in this movie. I think they've got everybody in there. Star Trek, Star Wars. Are
you bitter, Tom, a little bit?
No, I'm confused.
Like in the closet with Tom Cruise confused?
Way more confused than that, Tom. Let me tell you, when there's more than one main character, okay, two main characters I can handle.
Sure.
Three, like in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Okay,
right. It's a fine movie.
We're having a hard time who said what?
Right.
We've gotten to like 22 in Avengers now, main characters. I mean, how can you even tell a story? So anyway, I'll quit my rant. I know that I've seen it in somebody's calendar in the room. I won't say any names.
Mason.
but yeah, I don't get it.
Tom, I
guess I'm an old.
I stumbled upon it being on my calendar next Friday.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Huh.
Right around this time.
Yeah. So let me guess. We're going to reschedule the T-Squared Tech Talk podcast to Friday morning.
But thank God for my lovely wife who just puts things on my calendar.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, I actually booked another podcast after this one, which another fantastic podcast we create here at the On Target Digital Marketing Studios. But then I saw that and realized I'm going to a movie next Friday, Tom, at about 4 o'clock.
Well, have fun with that. And you might want to take a notepad with you so you can kind of sketch out who did what and what the plot line is.
I should bring a novel.
You might want to.
Mason and I were sitting here talking before the show, and I told him, it looks like this thing's 3 hours and 20 minutes long. I don't know how I can't sit still for 14 minutes.
Is
Tom.
it really?
Yeah, that's involved.
Gandhi was 3. I mean, you came out, it felt like the next day.
War and Peace.
Oh man, I tell you. Well, good luck.
But you know who would love that?
Who's this?
The In-Laws.
Tom, are the grapes of wrath on?
Don't even bring up the in-laws.
Oh, come on, man.
See,
we
I
got to
had
talk
a rough
about
week
them.
with the in-laws.
You did?
That's a different podcast, though. This is a whole different podcast, and we're going to talk about secure websites.
Okay.
And what they mean, and security certificates. We're going to explain this.
Wow.
But we're going to roll this out on another. This is a whole podcast.
Okay. Well, I'm excited about that.
All right.
That'll be a whole In-Laws production.
So there's your Avengers teaser for the next podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Excellent. We'll talk about Werther's and that cream they put on their dentures.
Exactly.
And then, have you ever seen them mix the hemorrhoid medicine up with the denture medicine, Tom?
No, I haven't. But, you lost me at the creams there. I've been at the Walmart and the Bed, Bath, and Body and whatever else. We've been on a see, again, this is a whole different podcast. Yeah, you're going to have to tune in next time, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll fill you in on this.
I can't wait for that one, Tom.
Yeah, well, I can.
So here at the T-Squared Tech Talk podcast, it's very important to us, Tom and myself, Tom Craig here with Advanced System Solutions, and myself with On Target Digital Marketing. We love to take tech and help break it down, but we also talk about marketing from time to time, Tom.
Yes, we do, and not quite enough, because, you're the master of marketing and digital marketing, and I feel that we should be drawing some of that, some more of that out and providing that to our listeners, because, we're givers.
We are givers, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what this show is built on, is just giving.
And it continues from there. It bled over into, we try to give back to the community. I know you do in your own way. I've started a luncheon, the Orlando Power Lunch here. What we run the first Thursday of every month, so that way it's consistent. And it's different than a lot of other networking groups in the fact that there's no sales behind it. The whole point of this is if I can get people to this luncheon and introduce them to each other, the biggest gain I could possibly get would be to see them connect outside of the luncheon.
So you're saying you're not doing it to sell.
Absolutely not. I want to see other people make connections. I want to see my friends increase their businesses because you know what they say, a rising tide lifts all boats.
That sounded in your radio voice too. That was very nice.
Yeah, well, again, just trying to get those listeners in here, Tom. Anything to do. We're giving away $1,000 next podcast from over here.
Jeez. Thanks, Mason. We appreciate Mason's generosity with his $1,000, kind of putting that up on the table for us.
Caveat, those are pesos. So anyway, anything we can do. But no, in all honesty, that's what people don't get, I think, in this day and age, is the fact that to get to know somebody, you can't just walk up and be like,
"Hey, best friend, are you going to buy from me?"
And that's your first opening statement. I think you've had a little bit of that lately.
I have a little bit of that, Tom. And, let me share an analogy maybe all of us can relate to at some point in our lives. We've probably all bought a car, our listeners, right? So if you go down to a car lot 5 years ago and step out, you always park it, right? The customer parking only, right? You pull up, you roll up to the dealership, you put your car, your trade in park, you get out, and what happens? Leisure Suit Larry is upon you, like shit through a goose, Tom.
I think
like
it was
that.
before you opened the door.
Oh yeah, they're there.
You were spotted when you pulled in that lot. When you pulled into that front space, we got one.
Right, we got a live one. And if you live in Florida, you know what vultures look like, right? We have these big old turkey vultures, and they just kind of loom, Tom. So there might be a little bit of roadkill on the street. They're waiting for you to drive by it so they can go shred it into pieces. That's the same damn thing that used to happen at car dealerships. Park your car. There he is, right? He's got the leisure suit on.
What's it going to take to put you into this car, Tom?
And they're going to take you to the car they want you to buy. They're going to hold you hostage for 6 hours. Remember the old "I'm going to take your car keys" trick and get your car appraised so we can get that out of the way? And
oh yeah,
yeah, that doesn't fly anymore, Tom, does it?
No, and it didn't fly too well with me either. That's a whole nother podcast.
But this pushy sales thing just isn't working anymore. And we're seeing it now manifest itself. It's ugly face, Tom. You may notice I put my hat on backwards today. However, you ever seen me in a ball cap?
You're ready to rumble.
I'm pissed.
I'm
lit.
Yeah, you're sitting on the edge of your seat. I see this tape around the fingers there. I think you're ready to duke it out.
I'm ready to go. I'm a little bit pissed off. I'm a little bit fired up, Tom, and it's not from the coffee or your Mountain Dew today.
Okay, well, so what got you so fired up this time?
So, I'm on LinkedIn quite often. I was explaining to Mason I've got about 2,600 followers, which takes some doing. I took a lot of pride in building that network. I don't just take every Tom, Dick, and Harry, Tom.
Well, I do, and I think I'm at 26 now, so that's a whole different story.
So, one of my pet peeves is you'll get the, "Hey Tom, I want to reach out and connect, and I think we'll be a great partnership together, and let's talk and let's connect," and they make you feel like, "Oh, well, hell yeah, if we can have a great partnership and relationship, that'll be perfect." So I click that accept button, Tom.
Yep.
What happens 10 seconds later? Can you guess?
Another message?
You get a message from the LinkedIn Messenger from said person that you just accepted that says, "Have you thought about Bitcoin, blah, 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 and you want to buy this for your employees?" It's always something completely rando that I don't give two rats' asses about, and they're shoving it down my throat just because we accepted each other as LinkedIn friends. Why is that wrong, Tom?
That's wrong on many different levels. And let's if I may just roll it back to the power lunch. When you meet somebody, like I say, the first thing I want to do is get to know them, get to know what they do, and then how we could work together. How could that benefit me, and how can I benefit them? So recently I had something similar. I had somebody come up to me, and this was our first introduction. We talked, I'll give them credit. We talked for a few minutes. But at the end of our discussion, It seemed like we might be a good fit. They handed me 10 business cards.
10.
Yeah,
Is that a special number?
I don't know. He didn't pre-count them out. I almost wonder if they were just waiting in his pocket. But
Excuse me while I whip this out.
I tell you, I got back and I thought, well, if only these were pizza magnets, because I think, with every 10th pizza magnet, you get a free pizza. And I thought, well, gee, I could get a free lunch out of this. But what am I going to do with 10 business cards? Well, let me go investigate this person. I went and looked on LinkedIn, nothing. Facebook, nothing. The website, no testimonials. So I have absolutely no idea what your quality of work is, but you expect me to pass out 10 of your business cards to other people and speak highly of your business?
And what you just said is the key. And remember the car dealership guy?
Yeah.
You know how people shop today? They don't just drive down to the lot and wait for Slick Rick to come up and put them into a car.
They've got an appointment.
They've got an appointment because why? They went and visited a couple of places online. They figured out exactly what kind of car is going to work best for them. They might already know their financing. They might know what trim they want. They know what color they want. They know what they're going to pay for it. Today's consumer already knows what they need and what they want. And when they get to that car dealership, who's in charge, Tom?
The buyer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the fundamental shift that a lot of people just aren't getting.
Mm-hmm.
The buyer is in charge today. Now, granted, the dealership's always going to do some wonky stuff and try to slide a couple fees in on that sheet at the end. The last car I bought, they snuck in a marketing fee, Tom, a marketing fee. I was buying.
I'm sure that burned your
I
bridge.
was a little pissed, and I go, I pay attention to these numbers. I know what they're doing. I roll down. What's the marketing fee? The guy looked at me like I was stupid, and he goes, for marketing. I'm like, but I saw Nissan, the truck that I bought. I've seen that advertised on television. Am I paying for that? Well, yeah. I mean, the dealer has to absorb some of those, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, that's cooked into the price of the truck already. I wasn't born yesterday, but. Anyway, I digress, Tom. I think the whole point here is consumers are in charge. Consumers want value. You have to bring value, just like you're doing at your Orlando Power Lunch, because you're not being a selfish jerk.
Well, thanks for that. But you're absolutely right. And it's not, it's not just in person. It's online as well, like we were talking about. It's amazing how quickly you can get a response after accepting a connection request to suddenly talk about their business and what they do, and is there a time we can talk? And so with that, I really enjoy the fact that my name on LinkedIn has a tilde after it, where I've entered some additional information. You'll have to go to LinkedIn to see what that is.
Yes, look him up, folks. It's Tom Craig.
That's right. That's right. So the tilde is there, but what I really like is that when I get a connection request and I accept it and I get a response,
hi, Tom Craig, tilde, comma.
Right.
It's like, oh, gee, you're using an automated messaging service to just spam out everybody who connects with you. And as somebody said today on LinkedIn, they're ruining the platform.
They are ruining the platform, and it's not just LinkedIn, Tom. So what we're seeing every single day is honestly, it's selfishness. It's I'm going to drop my stuff in front of you and push my product, push my services upon you. I know a certain realtor that you know as well that drops her real estate listings into groups that have nothing to do with real estate. And that's all she offers up as value. There is absolutely zero value in that. I'm not on this Facebook channel to be sold a frickin' house.
Yeah, I agree. And, I enjoy my wife, who's also a realtor. Her approach to this has been like posting around Easter time a picture of peeps and saying, hey, my peeps, if you're looking for information on housing, and she's including information on the Orlando market, trying to educate people, trying to make it a valuable experience for them. And that's what we all have to do is make it, we have to provide value to others before we can expect them to even consider bringing value to us.
That's right. So with so much stuff being kind of spewed out on the internet every single minute, and I want our listeners to think about it this way. Like every single second of the day, there's tweets and posts and LinkedIn stuff and open houses and all this stuff that people are pushing out there. Well, listen, it's getting so saturated that if you're not creating something human like your wife Penny is doing and connecting with people on a human level and you use the example of automated responses, that is crap.
Yeah.
People want to talk to humans, and that's what social media has to be about. I don't think there's a book out, right? I don't think that there's a manual when you sign up on LinkedIn But what we're seeing is people are being greedy and just saying, I just want to take. I just want to take. And that's not the way this world works. And if you're doing that, you need to stop that shit right now.
Amen. And I was there's the hat getting flicked. Look out, ladies. He's putting the boxing gloves on. But I was at a LinkedIn Local event lately, put on by James and Dale, a couple good friends of ours. And what they were discussing on LinkedIn was, if you want to truly bring value to yourself and value to others, you need to start supporting others within your group, others within your community, others that you could work, like with me in technology, other technology leaders. So you need to connect with those people. You need to support them, and you need to raise your presence on social media through that platform. And doing that is going to provide you so much more value than just spewing out an open house or a, hey, come buy from me, or hey, take my 10 business cards and go pass them out to 10 friends and ask those 10 friends to pass on to 10 friends, and we'll all get a free car.
Well, Tom, that very valid. And I want you to think about it this way. So, you know how the in-laws sit on the throne, the toilet, right? And they hold court. Have you ever noticed this? The door's open.
Tom?
Yeah.
Is there any more toilet paper?
Meanwhile, you're getting to hear all the kerplops and the scents and the things wafting in the air. But stay with me on this analogy. What needs to happen on social media? If you're a marketer, if you are a small business owner, you need to build a tribe, which is exactly what you were just saying. Mm-hmm. So people want to buy from people who they trust and believe in and who are proving themselves on a daily basis. You do that by being a giver. You do that by sharing your expertise. And I'm going to tell you, if you're not an expert in your field and you're trying to bullshit people, they'll see right through it. So stop that.
Exactly. And the pushiness, the hey, look what we did, that's not going to provide value. I don't know about you, Tom. I just skim right over those in the feed. I'm looking for things that are interesting, things that are different, things that bring value to me and knowledge that, I can bring to our listeners here on the podcast.
So something else happened to me last week, which you might get a kick out of.
Okay.
All these spoofed phone numbers that keep happening to people, right?
Yes.
So it's a phenomenon. It sucks. It's a big problem. And a lot of these cell phone providers are trying to figure out how to block all these spoofing phone numbers. But anyway, last week I answered one because it's so similar to the extension that my wife has and blah, blah, blah. So, and it could be a lead for me. It could be a prospect. So I do tend to answer a lot of those, unfortunately. And I get this gentleman with a very thick accent in a call center, very loud. I hear chickens. I hear donkeys. I hear roosters. I hear your in-laws. I'm hearing all this ruckus.
Yep.
And this gentleman's trying to speak over all this noise to tell me how he can save me on my funeral costs, Tom. Now, I'm not dead yet, okay? I'm older. I'm not going to lie, right? But to spam me to try to get me to listen to you about funeral expenses and blah, 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 and he wouldn't shut the hell up. I finally had I had to raise my voice a little bit, Tom. I had to take my cap out here, put it on backwards.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I don't really care about your call right now. And I had to get a little rude, Tom.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Not in-laws rude, but I had to get rude.
And it's unfortunate. I really wish the FTC would step up to the plate and do something about this. We had the do not call list years ago, which was starting to help the amount of calls subside, but now it's just become over the top. And people often ask me, well, how do they get away with this? It's easy. Those countries don't have laws and don't enforce any regulations, so these people can do whatever they want. And the technology's
from
Kyrgyzstan,
son of a biscuit.
And I read today where calling out these countries actually does help to, by bringing light to it, that it helps shame them and alleviate this.
Bring shame upon this family.
If we could, if we could just do that a little bit more to Kyrgyzstan, maybe these calls would subside.
Hey, the T-Squared Tech Talk podcast is gunning for Kyrgyzstan.
We're leading the way.
Yeah,
we're leading the charge.
There is all kinds of shenanigans coming out of Kyrgyzstan, and we're not taking it anymore.
No, sir.
No, we're fired up, damn it.
Yep. Well, anymore, my hat would be on backwards.
Well, I'm going to bring you a hat.
That would help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll both have hats.
Okay,
And then
all
we'll
right.
get Mason a hat.
See?
And it'll be like tri-hats.
Triple threat.
I know.
There's
And we'll
no
put them on backwards like
they
mine
don't
today.
stand
You
a
got to put it on
chance.
backwards.
Okay.
That means you mean business.
All right.
So, all right. We brought shame upon to everyone who's spamming people on LinkedIn and Facebook and phone calls. Let's give a couple helpful tips, Tom, on, well, you're in a bit of a interesting industry, meaning boring. So how
Can't argue that.
But you've done a great job of articulating and making things interesting and building yourself up as a thought leader. So give us a couple pointers on stuff that you've created to help elevate you in the marketplace and why people buy from you.
So it comes right back down to what I learned from On Target Digital Marketing, Tom. And let me tell you what I learned from them. You've got to make it human. You've got to make it understandable, and you've got to tell your story. So that's exactly what I've been focusing on over the last year or 2 years, is doing just that. And it was difficult for me because I thought that if I could just push technical stuff, that would be very enlightening and people would get it. But it doesn't resonate. And what resonates is the stories of, I go here, I see this is the issue, here's how we helped them. And by providing that story, it not only enlightens the reader, but it also, as you said, provides that credibility that we could step in and help alleviate their technology woes. So,
right.
Yeah, and that right there is what people don't get. They're missing, like you were saying, the realtor who just pushes open houses and hey, buy from me, and you're not getting that connection. It's just like reading the want ads.
I think what it comes down to really is not being selfish, right? Like looking at the world in a completely different lens of how can I build this up instead of push my stuff down someone's throat. And I think when you shift your marketing mentality to that of like, what value can I create today for my users? So you were on this LinkedIn thread that I was talking about today, and it was interesting to me because somebody actually wrote back. I wrote this whole thing about, create something amazing today, and then he kind of discounted it a little bit and said something like, well, how do you propose we sell then? And I'm like, you don't sell on social media.
I'd say no.
You don't.
I'd say what you need to do is, if you're on LinkedIn to sell, you're doing it wrong. What you need to be on LinkedIn for is to make the connection, to support that other person. Like, let's just say that person is a septic tank cleaner.
Sure. A crapper cleaner, Tom.
Exactly.
A pooper scooper, if you will.
They're talking about the Succomatic 5000. Yeah. And, so they're putting out information that they feel will help their audience.
If it's brown, flush it down, Tom. Am I right?
I got nothing. So what you need to be doing is, if you're going to connect with someone on social media and you would like to do business with them, you need to understand that person. You need to read what they're posting. You need to understand what they're posting and make comments that make sense, not just, that's great, or great, that's awesome.
Or holy crap.
Yeah.
See what I did there, Tom?
I like it. I like it. But, now there are other times where, I will say kudos to somebody or congratulations if there's an event. But for the most part, if you're going to support somebody, a one-liner isn't supporting them. Understanding them, providing a response. And there again, you don't have to agree.
Right.
Maybe you think that the Succomatic 5000 is the worst invention ever, and if they looked at the drain cleaner,
it really sucks, Tom.
3000, yep, it's a much more efficient machine. So if you can provide something different, a different point of view, your responses are actually going to get a lot of attention.
I've got a couple ideas for the septic tank cleaner, Tom. Are you ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry for opening up this can of
corn
worms.
All right, so how about a piece, the difference between a floater and a sinker, Tom? What do you think?
Are we talking about cars here that have gone into the drink?
We're back in the septic tanks.
Oh, see, I was trying to transition.
Yeah, I see an infographic about what makes a floater, what makes a sinker.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize for where this podcast has gone.
How long does the corn actually stay there? People need to know.
See, that is a question. I have some family that harvests corn, so we'll get that information for you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll find out how long it takes from first plant, from first growth to harvest, and we'll get that out to you.
Have you taught the in-laws how to flush yet? I mean, what is it about that?
What are you going to teach them? How are you going to teach
You
the
come back in,
in-laws?
you see this big floater, Tom.
Yeah, there's no teaching the in-laws, Tom. We are merely students in their world. It's their school. We're just trying to pass on to the next grade.
Do Tom. Yeah.
There we go. So
But back on target there, Tom. See what I did?
I did.
So really create content that is valuable to your audience. Align yourself as a thought leader in the space, and add the word expert after your name, provided that you actually are.
Yep, absolutely. And again, not just having in your profile, the A, B's, and C's of what you do and what you provide. Talk about the value that you bring people. Talk about what you enjoy in your community, what makes you different than others.
Or what brings you joy and how you can bring others joy. Because I think the biggest problem that we're seeing is just selfishness. And, Gary V, who I know you're aware, Gary Vaynerchuk, will be the first to tell you you've got to give. And there's a great song out by Sammy Hagar that's called Give to Live.
Absolutely.
And those words are so very true. If you're online and you want to build a following, you want to ultimately sell product, I get it, right? I understand that. I got shit to sell, Tom.
We got bills to pay,
Yeah.
kids to send to school.
That's right. That's right. So, but they're going to buy from you or I because we know our stuff and because we exercise that and we show that and we illustrate that. Like, getting on television and talking about X, Y, and Z, or creating podcasts, or creating all the stuff we're doing right this second is to feed and nurture an audience.
Yeah.
And guess what? When you need an expert down the road, who are you going to think of?
That's exactly it. It's I don't care what you call me as long as you call me. That kind of mentality.
Don't call me late for dinner, though, Tom.
I was going to go there. See, I was trying to stay up. I was afraid that might go back into the porta potty, but anyway.
Into the corn floaters,
See,
Tom.
There
Yes.
we go. There we go. So
You ever notice that gas, that discharge on top? I'm like, what is this oily mess? And the in-laws need to adjust the diet. Anyway,
that's a different
sorry.
household. But I think it's that time, Tom. Speaking.
You know who wrote in, Tom? I'm excited about this
Who
one.
do we have today?
Carl from Kurzblakistan.
Not Carl.
Yep.
I thought we'd blocked Carl.
So Carl writes in,
Okay.
why isn't it okay to spam people on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter? I don't understand. I'm able to do it in Kurzblakistan, Tom.
Yep, exactly. And the thing is that's Carl is just one of those guys that just doesn't get it, does he? Nope.
No. And Carl will be the first one to write on my LinkedIn thread about why it's not okay to do this and argue with me about this. So I'm not saying, Tom, I am not telling you that my way is the highway.
Oh, no.
But
And there are people, and look, you might get some traction going the other way, but that's the short game. If you're in this for the long game, you've got to make connections that are meaningful. You've got to support those within your tribe, if you will, and help lift them, help bring exposure to them and understand them. By doing that, they will understand you. Don't think, Tom, I know if somebody posts a comment to one of your, LinkedIn posts or Facebook posts, you see that. You know who's out there supporting you and what names you see over and over again. I don't care how big you are. You take note of that.
And I would say this about that. I would much rather have engagement on my posts than 9 million followers.
Yeah.
I've seen so many companies that go out and post random crap that get one like and don't understand why.
Yeah.
And it's because they're not creating content that's engaging people. I'd much rather see 6 or 7 people chime in and write a comment on it, because that means that we're having a conversation, right? They're listening. They're looking to us, you or myself, as thought leaders and wanting to engage. That's where the gold is.
And it's funny because somebody recently said to me are you seeing any drop in followers on LinkedIn and Facebook? Because we're just not getting the same response. And the answer to that is because you're pushing, and you're not understanding and taking the time to understand your audience and know what's going on with them and build that tribe, if you will.
You're so right. So here's the core difference. Remember the car dealership we talked about? We talked about Slick Rick, right? That is very much a Slick Rick move is pushing something down someone's throat. So let's just we'll pick on real estate agents for 1 second.
Okay.
What they do a lot of is throw postcards into mailboxes, right? Like, buy your home, list your home. I'll click my heels 16 times to get your listing. I get it. I understand why, but they're pushing that into your face, right? I would much rather, as a consumer, go find out what I need to know. Like Like your wife Penny has, 5 things you need to know about when to list your home. Well, I need to know that stuff. Let me be in charge of finding that info. The core is to create that info and get it distributed in the right channels so that people like me, when I need it and when I'm hungry for it, I find Penny and oh my goodness, she's wonderful. I need to work with her.
That's right.
That's right.
It's not just an advertisement. LinkedIn and Facebook is not the want ads. You don't just need to keep posting over and over again about, hey, we're Advanced System Solutions. Look at us. We help you with your technology needs. We can do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Nobody cares until they need somebody with technology, and they're not going to think about A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They're going to think about, who do I know in technology that's at the front of mind? And
Right,
if you're
you said
creating that content that's keeping you at the front of mind, that's interesting to them, then you're there. You're in.
You said it, top of mind. And that is really what's critical. No matter what we're doing, we always have to put our shoes on, Tom, and put our best foot forward and come out with content that's going to talk to our target audience, not talk about ourselves. That's what's critical there. Right about the in-laws, Tom.
Yep. So take that, Carl, and Kishblakistan,
Yeah, Carl.
and run with it and quit, for the love of God, using that program that sends me, dear Tom Craig, comma. It's like, okay, this one's automated. Delete.
And Carl, stop trying to sell me funeral insurance care services too on my cell phone. I'd appreciate it.
Well, Tom, Carl's been keeping up with the T Squared Tech Talk podcast.
Well, I'm glad he's listening.
He knows that the in-laws are pushing you to the brink. I saw where your wife was looking for somebody to clean the gutters over at the grandparents, and I said, you know what?
I saw how you chimed in on that, Tom.
I said the best person I know is Tom Jelnick.
You're a good friend.
See, I'm here for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And you know what I'm here for?
What?
To get another story for our listeners, because, man, that'd have been a good one.
Until next time, folks, we appreciate you so much for listening. And listen, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Facebook, good. But create something amazing, create something remarkable, worthy of being shared, and do it often. Stop pushing stuff down people's throat.
And make sure you connect with us so we can create a stronger presence together.
That's right. So look for Tom Craig with Advanced System Solutions on LinkedIn, or me, Tom Jelnick, with On Target Digital Marketing on LinkedIn. Thanks so much for listening, and take care.
This podcast was recorded at the On Target Podcasting Studio.